This is Brandon,
This is Riley.
and you're joining us on how the telegraph revolutionized the late 19th and early 20th century. The invention of the telegraph changed technology and communication for the newly brought together United States.
Yeah, as many of you know, the telegraph was a revolutionary invention that changed the way people communicated across long distances. But again, you probably didn't know that its creation was a result of decades of experimentation and innovation.
So it was actually Samuel Morse who was and still is credited with inventing the first practical telegraph in 1844. Morse's invention used the code of dots and dashes to transmit messages over wires, allowing people to send messages quickly and efficiently. The idea of this invention was thought of when Morse was on a ship, and he and some people were talking about sending messages using electricity. He knew this was a great idea, and the telegraph would become a monumental invention for the future progress of the United States and the whole world.
Interesting enough, it also had a profound effect on journalism, as news could now be transmitted quickly across long distances, enabling newspapers to publish breaking stories almost immediately. The telegraph also had a significant social impact, as it allowed families and friends separated by long distances to keep in touch more easily. But overall, the invention of the telegraph was a pivotal movement in the history of the communication and technology, laying the groundwork for further innovations in the field of telecommunications.
Riley, it is crazy how the introduction of the telegraph in society was a gradual process that took place over several decades.
Is that actually true?
Yeah, it took several decades because it required significant technological advancements and the infrastructure development. Obviously, the telegraph was not an overnight invention, but was decades of experimentation. It took many years to refine the technology and develop necessary equipment to create a practical telegraph system. The construction of the telegraph required significant investments and labor, as wires were needed to be laid across vast distances.
Yeah, the cost of building and maintaining telegraph lines was also a significant barrier to its widespread adoption, Brandon. The telegraph was initially seen as a tool for business and government communications, and you can see it took some time for it to become widely available to the general public.
Well, actually, the first experimental telegraph was developed in the early 19th century and took several years of experimentation before the technology was refined, enough for practical use. And to add on to that, the telegraph also did have some important social implications, as it allowed families and friends separated by long distances to keep in touch more easily. The introduction of the telegraph paved the way for further technological advancements in communication and information exchange, and it remains an important part of our history and cultural heritage. The telegraph had a wide range of uses and had a profound impact on various aspects of society. One major use of the telegraph was for business and commerce. By allowing information to be transmitted quickly over long distances, it facilitated the growth of industries such as banking, finance, and manufacturing.
Yeah, going more in depth for the business world, they used telegraphs to send and buy sell orders. It helped give instructions to sellers around the United States about payment. It also helped set up appointments for business deals, give news when container ships arrived with supplies, and to share revenue reports.
It also allowed for the coordination of activities between different companies, reducing transaction costs within and between firms. The telegraph also had a significant impact on journalism, as it allowed news to be transmitted quickly across long distances, enabling newspapers to publish breaking stories almost immediately.
The telegraph had a wide range of uses and had a profound impact on various aspects of society, revolutionizing the way people communicated and conducted business. The book, The Story of the Telegraph and a History of the Great Atlantic Cable, was a great read that describes how the telegraph was used during the American Civil War. Telegraph lines were laid across the battlefields, allowing commanders to quickly communicate orders and coordinate their troops. The telegraph was a critical means of communication, Brandon, especially for the Union military during the Civil War. The telegraph allowed for the rapid transmission of messages, providing commanders with up-to-date information on troop movements and battle developments.
On the topic of the Civil War, the telegraph network also facilitated communication between the Union government in Washington, D.C., and the Union armies in the field.
Yeah, the city of Baltimore actually played a significant role in the telegraph network during the Civil War. The city itself was a crucial transportation and communication hub that connected the North and the South.
Several telegraph lines converge in Baltimore, making it a critical location for the transmission of military intelligence and orders. If you guys didn't know, one of the most important lines was actually the Washington-Baltimore line. This line connected the Union capital to the north and the west. The line was heavily guarded by Union troops and was a target of Confederate sabotage.
Yeah, another big factor during the Civil War is how the telegraph was used to send and receive messages between soldiers and their families back home. This helped them boost morale and maintain a connection with their loved ones.
The journal article The Telegraph in 19th Century America, Technology and Monopoly by Richard B. Duboff describes how the telegraph was also used in other wars during the 19th century. During the Mexican-American War, the telegraph was used to communicate information about troop movements and battles to the public, allowing them to follow the progress of the war more closely. And then during the Crimean War, the telegraph was used to transmit news and updates about the war to the public, helping shape public opinion and support the war effort.
The telegraph also played a significant role, Brandon, in the Franco-Prussian War. where it was used extensively to transmit military messages and coordinate troop movements. And overall, the telegraph played a critical role in the wars during the 19th century, revolutionizing the way military commanders communicated and coordinated their troops on the battlefield. Unfortunately, as technology advanced in the early 1900s, telephones were widespread throughout the houses of the average citizen in many first world countries. The telephone had many advantages over the telegraph in that the telephone was instant communication, whereas the telegraph would take 10 to 20 minutes or even hours if high traffic was going between the lines. Talking about the telegraph lines, they were expensive to maintain, and the invention of the telephone was cheaper to connect between people. This marked the end of the telegraph.
And lastly, the internet. This revolutionized the world and is a staple around the globe even to this day. You can find pictures, information, talk to people instantly with text, voice, and video chat. And after the early 2000s, it was a common appliance in a lot of households in the United States. As the years went on, it only became cheaper and more affordable to everyone, and it also could be used in libraries and such. It is a resource that holds trillions of types of information and is now the current standard in today's world. With these inventions, each one was inching closer and closer to the end of the telegraph. Thanks for tuning into this episode of our podcast. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Riley.
And we'll catch you next time.